Hey, this is Andrew Brown, your organizer for the AWS Ontario Virtual User Group running the free AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp. And in this update, I want to talk to you about the form data, the registration form that you filled out that made us get to 10,000 registered users, because I thought it'd be interesting to share this data with you so you can understand what I'm looking at and how this is going to influence the learning materials and things like that. So in the registration form, we pretty much have all the questions here visualized. Jotform makes it easy for me to do it, but not for all the fields. So the first two questions that I think really matter is, where are people coming from? And so I asked the time zone in general. So I have a breakdown there, so I have an understanding, but also their location. So we had country, state, and city. And for those who had trouble with these two fields, I'm so sorry. It's just Jotform. It has nothing to do with my implementation of it. And like, I even said in the forum, I said they might not be using the most appropriate names. So I know like the city of Kiev or Kiev, and I'm so sorry, I don't remember how to pronounce it, but that's in the Ukraine. They had the wrong spelling, and again, it's out of my control. Yeah, so there's not much I can do about that. But these are the fields that made it easy for me to collect that information. However, I didn't find out afterwards that I can't easily visualize this, so we had to bring it over into Excel to get that breakdown. And so you can see that United States is leading, India is second, Nigeria third, Canada fourth, the United Kingdom fifth. And I would have hoped for more Canadians, but I guess I'll have to do more work to bring more folks in, because really it's like I thought we'd have a lot, a lot from Toronto, but it's okay. As long as we are helping a lot of people, I'm happy to do it. And maybe Canada will figure it out in the next boot camp that I do. Anyway, so what we'll do is scroll on down and take a look at some more information. So another thing I asked was, what was your primary language? I was very curious to see, other languages there. As you can see, we have sometimes there's double entry because people put whatever they wanted. So I thought we'd see more Spanish folk, but I think maybe that's just too much of a barrier for folks joining the stream. Like Latin America usually likes to do a lot of their own version kind of stuff. So maybe what would be important is to get this stuff subtitled over to Spanish. I do have a couple of volunteers that are willing to do it. So maybe that's just one of those areas where that matters. In terms of other languages, I'm not 100% sure, but one thing is that I think that maybe a Spanish translation is important to do for some reason in my head. Asking what cloud role are you most interested in? We can see architect, engineer, developer, administrator are the smaller ones. I'm actually surprised that administrator is not larger. I didn't put solution architect in here. I did not put DevOps engineer in here because those are just really broad terms that don't mean a whole lot. I knew if I put them in, they would have just dominated. And so these are the four roles we're going to talk about in our Cloud Career Services with Lou. And this is going to be helpful to help you map stuff up. And I think people should care more about developer and administrator. They just don't know it. And so I'm hoping that after Cloud Career, like doing the Cloud Career stuff, that this pie chart, if we were to reassess it, re-ask, that it'd be more evenly split. But right now, people want these things, and they're not too aware of the advantages of those things. Let's go down here. So have you participated in any other technical bootcamp before? A majority said no. And then you could see, it looks like 30% says yes, right? So there's yes or tell me what bootcamp you're in. And you can see it's all over the place. So I can see one like WeCloud Data. I know WeCloud Data, they're super nice. We have all sorts of like Cura Labs. I think I saw Nana's in there. Digital Cloud Training, Google's Bootcamp, all like Cloud Skills, all sorts of boot camps in there. Some of these are not boot camps, like CCNA, that's the certification. So there's some not great data there, but at least we can see that a lot of people have not experienced a boot camp before, could be a good thing or could be a bad thing. You either know what's coming or you don't. But I guess my point is that I get to set the expectation of what a boot camp is, and I hope I make you all happy there. Now let's take a look at skill levels for people in the bootcamp. So I asked folks, what is your skill level working with Python? And we can see that a majority of folk have basic knowledge, and that's great. So if you have basic knowledge, then you're going to be in good shape, because I'm not expecting you to be a Python expert, but you do have to work with the code to some degree. Same thing with JavaScript. Basic knowledge was high, but it was very surprising how no one has no knowledge of JavaScript. That is quite the surprise to me, just because JavaScript is so accessible. I don't know if it's because we're attracting folks from a non-web developer background, but I'm really surprised that is as high as it would be. Considerations: if you are answering no knowledge, no knowledge, no knowledge, all this stuff, you might have a hard time in the boot camp. The reason I ask these questions is to remind you that you are supposed to know them, like have basic knowledge. And if you're getting stuck on JavaScript, Python, we cannot slow down for you. We have to proceed forward. I'm not filtering people out because they have no knowledge, but I'm just saying that we have to focus on the stuff that is cloud and not necessarily these more adjacent skills that you're supposed to already have when you come to the table here. I asked this other one here about any other relevant programming skills, because sometimes when you have knowledge in another one, you can translate them over not too bad. And so we see a lot of folks saying basic knowledge and other stuff, but then we have people with no knowledge. So if you have no knowledge in JavaScript, Python, or any other language, you're going to have a hard time. This is going to be trial by fire for you. Buckle up. If you take the time to go through the prerequisites, where I did list some like JavaScript and Python, then you get to basic knowledge, you'll be totally fine. I did have an open field saying, what language did you know? And I got all sorts of kinds, so I couldn't really extrapolate too well from this thing, but I do have stuff. But Java seems to be right at the top there, so that's interesting. What is your skill level working with front-end web development? And we have basic knowledge. What is your skill level working with back-end web development frameworks? And we have basic knowledge, and that's okay, because again, we're not here to learn frameworks. For web development, we're here to learn cloud. What is your skill level working with Bash terminals? So we have basic knowledge, and again, that is okay. That's what I want, basic knowledge in all these things. Do you have experience in different cloud service providers? And so we could see the majority said they don't, NA, but we see the next one is Azure, the next one is GCP, and I'm going to see if there's anything interesting there, like DigitalOcean. That's not, it is a cloud service provider, it's a third tier one, so that's totally fine. And then I asked, what was your skill level if you had it in another provider? And so you see a lot of people saying they haven't touched anything else besides AWS. But then we go up here, we say, they've looked at it a bit, they've used it for learning purposes, but haven't done anything like anything of significance in it. Then they use it often, but they're not running complex workloads. And then you have people that are absolute experts in another cloud service provider. I know there are folks and instructors and Azure MVPs that are going to be coming here saying, hey, I want to get the full experience of AWS, and I'm going to see if I can translate my skills over. And I know they're coming, so I will try to make sure to describe similarities between other providers. That's the reason I was asking that, is so that I can translate that information over, because I do know multiple cloud service providers, and I want to make that a bit easier for you when you're learning about the things that are different in AWS compared to Azure or another provider. What is your skill level working with AWS? So we see people say, I have no experience with AWS. Now, if you do not have an adjacent skill and you have no experience with AWS, you probably aren't supposed to be taking this bootcamp, because it's an associate level bootcamp. We set the level. If we go back over to our outline here, I'll just open this up here. And we scroll on down. I set the difficulty to be level 250. Right? So the idea is that we're filling this gap. So you do your certification. Maybe you do toy projects. When I say toy projects, I mean like things that aren't complex, but you're building some stuff in. And this is the gap we're trying to fill, trying to help you get a significant complex workload, so that when you go for your cloud role, you can say, yeah, I can do it. I can build it. And here's the proof. Because people get certification, but they can't actually put anything together. So they have the knowledge, the foundational knowledge to understand cloud and that kind of stuff, but we need to prove that we can do it. And this, you can get jobs with just certification alone, but you'll have more of a chance if you have toy projects. You'll have more of a chance if you have this larger project, and that's what we're trying to do. But yeah, if you don't have any AWS knowledge, we are not slowing down for basic things, because again, this is associate level knowledge. Now, that's okay if we have people that say basic knowledge, because I'm going to collect you all in a bucket, and that's going to help me determine whether I should do a follow-up bootcamp for beginners. Um, but right now, I'm just trying to survive this bootcamp, so that is what is happening. But anyway, coming back to here, I poked around AWS. I don't know what I'm doing. Again, probably shouldn't be doing this bootcamp if you're in this tier, but you could, again, trial by fire. If you really want to do it, I want you to do it, but we're not slowing down. I've used AWS for only learning purposes. I've yet to build anything significant. This is who this bootcamp is for, and it looks like the majority of people are showing up for this. People at these top tiers, you're not going to benefit so much from this bootcamp, like especially here. If you work at a daily making complex workloads, you don't need this bootcamp. So you're here for some other reason. Maybe you're here to help out. Maybe you're here to experience what the bootcamp's like. That's totally fine. Or maybe you just want to round out your knowledge. Again, I'm not capping anybody out for not being the ideal candidate for this bootcamp, but I'm just saying, like, if you go, oh, I wish it was more complex, just understand we were aiming for this market here, okay? What existing cloud tech experience do you have? Now, here I was asking about different things, not just cloud service providers. So we have first tier, so AWS, Azure, GCP. So where's your knowledge? It doesn't matter where your knowledge is, but this is what you know about. And most people said, I know about CSPs, GCP, Azure, AWS. How many people are coming from on-premise? So I know there's some tech folk that have worked years in tech, but just on-premise stuff or private cloud stuff. So they're trying to map their skills over. We have cloud native folks. So they're used to working with Kubernetes and cloud native. They're not using the managed services as much. And they're probably paired with on-premise folk as well. People could multi-select on this one, I believe. So they could have selected multiple things. Third tier providers. So these are third tier, I say light tier. DigitalOcean, Linode, things like that. I thought we'd see more of those, but I guess not. I guess if I targeted dev.to more, we could have seen more people there. Managed third-party providers like HashiCorp, Datadog. They're not cloud service providers, but they're cloud vendors that have a lot of cloud service offerings thing under one umbrella. And so we see a little bit there. Then we have platform as a service. These are folks that use things that really do all the work for you, like Heroku, Netlify, Vercel, Render, and it's pretty low. So, I would like to see more of these folks come in, but maybe that's for a beginner bootcamp, because if you're at the associate level, these folks are probably past these components. They're not interested in them, like the first tier or the platform as a service. And I am getting stuffy. I cannot breathe through my nose right now. What is the highest level of AWS certification you hold? This is important because I said up here in our thing, this is intermediate level. And intermediate level is associate level certification. So I really want to see associate level knowledge, right? And I got people saying, I don't hold any certifications. Now, the question really is, and I need a pivot table for this, so maybe I'll get Sam to make one, but the question is, how many people said, I have no AWS certifications, but show that they have associate level knowledge? I don't know that yet. But I'm just saying, if you are saying no knowledge on coding, no knowledge on AWS, and no knowledge with AWS certifications, I don't know how you're going to get through this. Again, you could try. It's open for that, but I wanted more associate level folks here. Now, we do have a good chunk of cloud practitioners, so trial by fire, you still have a good chance of being able to complete it. Folks up here, I don't know. It depends on the answers of other questions. Do you hold any other certifications? And we're seeing a lot of no, I don't hold anything else. The next thing was Azure. Then we have CompTIA, Linux, GCP. And there's other entries, all sorts of other things. And we could probably look at what those other ones are. So if I open the table here, I don't know if I took a look. So if we go and expand the table grid here for a minute, I'm just going to drag this up. Just try to see what we have here. Just as other entries. Doesn't want to tell me today. Okay, well, I know I have the data for them, so I have to go through them. I'm just wondering if I saw A+ certification or other ones there, but we're not really sure what those are. So I'm just turning that grid off there. Or maybe they're security certs, right? What is your skill level working with Visual Studio Code? Most people are saying basic or very good, so that's great. If you have no knowledge of VS Code, really go look at those prerequisites that I put out there. I really want you to go do them. What is your skill knowledge level of virtualization containers? Basic knowledge is totally fine. No knowledge, we are going to go through containers. We have a whole day just for Dockerizing containers like that. You just have to go through the motions. I don't know if we're going to really talk about how the technology works. I want you to already know. But if you don't, we'll see. It just depends if I can create lecture content prior to each class. I might do that, make like 3-4 slides and just brush people up. But I want people to already have done foundational cloud knowledge before doing this stuff. What is your skill level of Linux networking? Basic knowledge, that's fine. Linux networking is kind of important when we're talking about containerization, but if we're doing Kubernetes, super important. When we're doing Docker containers, not so important, but knowing more the easier it's going to be. We have IT networking. That's just like your traditional networking. I wanted to see if there was more networking folk coming in here. So maybe they are very like IT or IT networking kind of stuff. And maybe they're trying to jump into cloud. And so we're seeing some excellent here. So maybe those are the folks where they might have said, I don't really have programming skills. I don't really have AWS skills, but I do have hardcore IT network, something like a very technical skill. So maybe they can make the jump. Do you plan on joining the Discord? 93% said yes. You really do want to join the Discord because that is where I'm pushing a lot of stuff. That's where the she clouds are. So if you're a woman in tech and you're looking for a place to connect with other women and to improve that, that would be great as well. But it's just where I'm doing updates like daily. And the community is very, very active. So I would strongly recommend to get into that Discord for the 7% that haven't. But if you're just here to consume the content and not really interact, that's totally fine as well. Have you read through the prerequisite knowledge for the section of the Cloud Project Bootcamp? And the majority said yes. How confident are you that you have enough prerequisite knowledge prior to the bootcamp? And the majority said yes. How many hours are you going to invest in brushing up or studying prerequisite knowledge? And the majority said 10. And that was the recommended, I think. If we go over to our time commitment, I said 10 hours. Put in 10 hours. And this is the assumption that you already had knowledge prior, right? Like I assumed, again, it's associate level. But if you didn't, I put in other resources there. So we go over to the prerequisite knowledge, and you can see, do you at least have CLF, CO1? Personally, I'd like to see you have an associate level certification, but if you don't, this is the best thing that I would like you to see. Do you have programming knowledge? Do you have the code editor knowledge? Do you have knowledge in like the editor Gitpod? And by the way, we'll probably have to add GitHub code spaces because I want to make sure that people have an alternate way of making sure that they stay on the free tier when using a cloud developer environment. Do you have Git knowledge? We do not want to teach Git in this. Do you have some container knowledge? There's a 5-minute video by Edith. And Edith is actually one of our guest instructors for our Docker day. She's a Docker captain. James is a Docker captain, so we have a lot of Docker help. So there's stuff like that. We'll make our way back over to here. And so we'll scroll on down. Have you read through the prerequisite technology section in the Cloud Project Bootcamp outline? Yes. That's great. Now the next question is, have you read through the prerequisite? Is this the same question? Have you read through the prerequisite technology section? This is duplicate. The next question was supposed to be like, did you sign up for it? There it is. Okay. So have you registered them? Yes. And I mean, like it's not a lot of work here, but if we go down here, you have to have your GitHub account. You have to have your Gitpod account. You have to have your AWS account. Absolutely. You have to have your Memento account. You have to solve your custom domain issue. I saw some folks saying like you can get .link domains for $5. So if you go here, I don't know where, but I'm just trying to get an example of them. It's not available. Well, who had those then? What is the, where's the cheapest domains you can get? I don't know. So we go here, $1 domains, 80-cent domains. So like find the cheapest domain you can get or get a free knob domain. That's why people say, well, I can't get a domain. I'm like, they're 80 cent. If they're 80 cent, maybe there's something I don't know. Like maybe you're getting tricked into something. I don't think so. But there's clearly ones that are like $1.80 or something like that. So just get whatever domain you can, because you really, 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 really do need a domain to make this work. And if you rely on Freenom, it is there, but it's not the best solution. Some people are saying like they're trying to sign up and it wasn't working, but they tried later on. You could end up losing your domain because you forget to renew it for the next month. So just consider that. Lucid charts. I think Lucid charts are still on our requirements. The reason I say that is that I have a paid one, and I have to go test the free tier to make sure that we have those AWS architectural diagrams, because I really do want you to learn how to do some diagramming, because it's just essential skill for any cloud engineer or anybody in cloud to actually make a diagram that is easy to read and to use. The only thing that's not on here that I probably should put on here is Honeycomb, because we were going to use it. Because they were a late addition, I wasn't sure if we were going to use it, so now I have to put Honeycomb on here. I thought maybe I could delegate an account, but then I realized it's going to be too hard, so I will put on here, absolutely sorry, I will remind you folks to go make your free Honeycomb account. And yeah, one of our speakers is Jessica. So Jessica it works at Honeycomb. Honeycomb is not a sponsor. It's just that it was recommended as a product, and it's just, I don't want to use. We probably might use X-Ray, but I do not want to use X-Ray, because in practicality, when you're doing observability, you're often using a third-party provider because they just work a lot better, like Datadog or New Relic or Honeycomb. And I chose Honeycomb because it was recommended. It has a generous free tier. We're building modern applications, and for containerized stuff, it was the best one there. So that's why. So we'll go here. I'm just going to link that. Okay, we are using Honeycomb for distributed tracing. Okay, you need to create a free tier account. Okay, so that is another requirement that needs to be done. So we'll go down here. Have you registered? Yeah, so if you haven't, you have to get on it. When did you create your AWS account? The reason I ask this is because I want you to not have any spend. I want you to be in the free tier. AWS has free forever services, and they have free tier services. If we go over to AWS free tier, let's see if we can see what we're talking about. So we go over to the free stuff, and there's stuff that is only free for the first 12 months. Then there's some services that have free trials, which we're not touching any of those. Then there's always free forever. So you go down here, 12 months free for EC2 70 hours. After a year, you don't get that anymore. If we have to spin up an EC2 instance, you're going to be paying. So there's cases like that. But if you go over to things like, we'd probably be using Fargate, so we're looking for Fargate or ECS compute. So we go ECS or Fargate. And it's not showing me stuff. Let's go to containers. Anyway, the point is that we got to go through here, and I'll have to calculate all the prices. I'm just having a hard time finding something. But things like, Lambda, so like 1 million requests for Lambda or stuff like that. So, there is going to be some kind of spend, and we want to reduce the spend as much as we can. And the only way we can do that is, if you have the free tier. And if you don't have the free tier, you're paying out of pocket, and you have to really watch that spend. I'm trying to get credits from AWS. I'm not getting a whole lot, to be honest. I do not know why. They're not giving me tons, but I got some because I'm an AWS hero, and so I cut those up, and I'm going to delegate some of those out. But I really wish AWS come through and help me here, but I'm just getting what I'm getting. So my point is that if you have an account that's older than a year, you probably can use the same credit card and open a new account, and then you'll be on trial, and that's stuff that really matters. Do you have a valid credit card to activate your AWS account? Yes or no? And 87% said yes. The reason I asked that is because if you don't have a valid credit card, how can you have an account? And so some people, they get their, I know this is an issue with like Nigeria, where because there's something with their banks or the government, and so like they're not able to use their debit credit card to open an account, and so they might have to get someone from another country to open it for them, but it's a pay-as-you-go card, so therefore they're unable to use it month to month, right? They're not even able to make payments on it because they don't have any way to put money in it. And so they get their account activated, but they don't have an active credit card. And I'm just saying, like, if you get stuck, I can't help you, right? Like, you won't be able to finish the boot camp because we won't be able to validate your project. You won't be able to get through the steps. You cannot do this boot camp without actually doing the work. Okay, you cannot fake it because we will validate and check it. But if you can work through these problems or figure out a way around it, it's a shame that I don't just have credits to give you or stuff like that. Like try to find a buddy that's going to let you use their account, anything, right? But we'll go down to the next part. Do you want to be graded? 91% said yes, because if you're not graded, you cannot get a digital badge. You cannot get a certification, certificate completion. You have to be registered in the boot camp in order to get the stuff. If we go back over to here, you could see we have the 4 tiers of stuff. Red Squad is the best. That is what you want to be, Red Squad. But there is a lot of work. And remember to double check the grading rubric because it's been updated. I think I forgot to mention that in the last video, but we changed it. And down below, you could see the details of what we're looking for. So there is quite a bit of work here, but it is worth it because, it demonstrates that you have exceptional effort and you do want to get Red Squad. Let's make our way back over to our survey here. Do you plan on completing homework? 99% say yes. I like that answer. Do you want to attend our cloud career sessions? 94% yes. I like that answer as well. How excited are you on the bootcamp from a scale of 1 to 10? 62%. Come on, people. Why only 62% say 10? I think if we broke this down here a little bit, we go to our table. So we say, yeah. Some people, nobody below a 5. Some people are only at there are some. It's like, if you're at a 2, why do the boot camp? If you don't have the energy or stuff or the enthusiasm, why you do the boot camp? But most people 62%, 10, 9, 8. It's pretty high there, but you could have been higher. Next time I have to hype it more. Do you plan on attending office hours? 77%. Haven't figured out the schedule for that. I think they're going to be in Discord. I think that's where they're going to be. Are you planning to use this in your resume? 92% said yes. That is great. That's what I want you to do. What best describes your technical background? I gave options and I had another option if it didn't fit. People did not enter this in right. Look, student, college student. You did not have to give me this detail. I just wanted to know if you fit into one of these. And a lot of you did, but I just got a bunch of noise. So, I don't know. I mean, it's nice, I guess, but it didn't make great for a chart. So I don't even know this really that well. I have to work on that to get the distribution. Are there other types of boot camps you want to attend? No surprise, DevOps is the top. DevOps is the top because it has the word DevOps in it. I wonder if people know what DevOps entails, but if truly you want a DevOps boot camp, maybe that's what we'll do. Kubernetes, which is a possible boot camp we could do. Azure is something that would be very easy for me to do. AWS Beginners Bootcamp. I'm surprised this is not bigger because I heard a lot of people saying I want a Beginners Bootcamp, but it's all the way down here. Multi-Cloud Bootcamp is down there. I got to say I'm a bit saddened for GCP. I thought maybe more GCP stuff. I actually really like GCP, but if we go down to the table, it's not showing GCP on there at all. There's not that many other options, so multi-cloud beats GCP, but it's funny is that if we did Kubernetes, if we did multi-cloud, we're going to be using GCP. So in that way, I kind of think GCP is still there on the table, even though it is low. We will close that. Let's go down to the next part. How do you plan on participating? And so we said they're just going to watch the videos on demand, pre-recorded videos, or the recorded sessions. They want to be able to write responses in the live stream. They want to be on camera. Lots of people want to be on Zoom. They want to watch the videos on their own time and write up follow questions. So the difference here is that this one's just you watch the videos. You have no community interaction. Most people are just happy watching the videos and interacting with the community. And then the other half, more or less, want to be in the call, in the classroom. I can tell you right now, the in-classroom thing is not working well. Okay, so I thought originally that we would have a Zoom room and we could live stream it. Then I found out that Zoom is really expensive. So if we go over to Zoom, I'm just trying to find their pricing here. If we had sponsors, I would do this, but we're not getting much help from sponsors right now. So we go over here and like we want the webinar one. So you go up to, let's say, what did our survey say? 3,000 people. So let's say we had to do 3,000. Now it's $10,000 I got to pay out of pocket. So don't have the $10,000, so I can't do it. I could, like, if I did 100, I might be able to do it, but it's just still too hard because the technical challenges of getting it to stream over and be quality for both does not work. If we had the funding, like I would probably just get 3,000, 5,000, have everyone in the room, and then we would put up the recording and just not do a live stream, and that's how we would do it. But that's just how it is. So what's going to happen is that we're just going to be doing it live stream, and that recording will become the pre-recording for the next day for everybody else. So yeah, that is the survey data. So hopefully there's something interesting that you learned there. I definitely learned a lot going through this information, but I just wanted to share that with you. I probably could share the link here, but I will do that at some point to expose that information. Yeah, and we are trying to raise fund or sponsorship. So if we go over to my Twitter, you can see I'm asking folks to promote it, and I greatly appreciate all the boot campers for sharing it. I'm going to tell you right now, we aren't really seeing much traction. And by much, I mean we have 0 submissions for sponsorship form. Sponsorship is tricky because you have to have that internal network. It also matters like the timing of the year. So like maybe nobody wants to give out money because it's just January. This is a really good event to sponsor, but if I don't have the network or the skills or stuff like that, we're just not going to get sponsorship. That's okay. I will still do it, but maybe it will just be the fact that we have to finish this, have a successful boot camp. We will have a successful boot camp, and then it'll be a lot easier. But I wanted to try anyway. I wanted to show you that I'm trying to get you stuff, and I'll keep trying. So let's hope that pans through. And yeah, I'll keep giving you updates, and I will. Oh, you know what I said last video? I said that I would have the portal ready, and so that is getting along a bit farther. I think it's like at my. You can't use it yet. My AWSCloudProjectBootcamp.com. So here now. Or did it get switched over to student? Oh, it's not. Sorry, it's mycloudprojectbootcamp.com. So you can kind of see something's working. I have a test account. I'm just trying to find it here. And please do not judge me. Whoops. Please do not judge me on the skills here because this is not complete. I'm just going to log in here for a second. Okay. Just so you have an idea. So this is what it looks like right now. I think student is actually the domain I want it to be. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same site. I'm just going to log in twice here. 1 second. We built this literally in a day. It took longer to deploy this app than it did to build it. But it's not a super sophisticated application. We specialize, when I say we, my company, specializes in building learning platforms, and we built it in a day. So this is not the best we can do, but it's good enough for our bootcamp. As you can see, it's not styled, so I'm going to give it some styling. I believe the accounts are imported, but I'm not recommending for you to go test whether you can log in right now because I have to do some things first. So don't even bother because it will not work. But my point is that we are very close to having this set up. Might be even today. But you'll see. I'll send out an email. But yeah, we are making progress, and I will see you soon. Ciao.